Good morning, Facebook and Fierce Nation. Surprise, surprise. Good morning. This is 15 minutes of Fierce with Lisa Copeland, but I am not Lisa Copeland. And good morning, Janelle and Michelle and Anthony and Kristen, Tabby, yay. So I am here today because Lisa reached out to me to do her show, and I am super excited to talk to you about what I want to talk to you about this morning. So I'm so glad you guys are all joining, Melissa and Keith and Leanne. So for those of you who don't know me, first of all, I am obviously not Lisa, and I am an audiologist here in Colorado, and I have a business called Connect for Excellence that I help people with social media and businesses connect to their audience and then also connect at events. I host a podcast called Connecting a Better World, and I also help my husband run a nonprofit. And so I am here today to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is social media. Good morning, Natalie, a fellow audiologist. Good morning, Dina, Laura. So anyway, I am going to talk to you about social media. And I know all of you are really good at Facebook daily, most of you, and Instagram. And I think that's great because you're able to get yourself out there. But I also want to think about, what would you do if you went to an event, right? What would you do if you went to an event? How would you use social media at an event? Which, you could still use Facebook. You could still use Instagram, which you could post pictures, you could post videos, you could add to your story, and that's all good stuff, right? But what I want to focus on, Michelle, drum roll, is I want to focus today on how to actually use Twitter at an event. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining. Greg and Laura Walls, thank you for joining. So today I want to talk to you a little bit more about Twitter. So please don't get scared and run off. Michelle, you better stay on the show. And, but because I think it's super important to learn how you can use some other social media platforms. I think we all know Josh. Oh, I get to say it anyway. So, I wanted to focus on Twitter because I think we all know Ken Walls. And I think he was the one that said, which social media platforms should you be on? Oh, pretty much all. And so I know that we focus a lot on Facebook and on Instagram, but I also want to focus on Twitter. And good morning, Amit. And he is another fellow audiologist. I got people waking up early this morning. So let's focus on Twitter. And how would you use this at an event? And there are two ways that I was thinking that I can talk about today. Is number one, if you're an attendee at an event, and number two, maybe if you're running the actual event, how could you use Twitter, all right? Or how could you even use social media, but mostly Twitter today? Because Lisa's talked to us about how to be a rock star on LinkedIn. She's talked to us about how to be a rock star on YouTube. We're all rock stars on Facebook, right? So I am going to talk about Twitter today. So we're going to start with, as an attendee of an event, if you are attending an event, how can you use Twitter? How would you actually be able to use it effectively? Okay, so number one, I always make lists. So number one would be, start with doing your homework. So do your homework. Start looking at who's going to be there, speakers, attendees, mostly start with the speakers so that it's not too overwhelming, but start with speakers and do your homework. Find out their handle names, find out the correct ones, because when you're at an event and you are trying to tweet, you definitely do not want to use the wrong handle name and tag somebody else. So do your homework, put it in your phone, write it on the notes. Most speakers are pretty good because they'll put their handle names maybe in a lookbook before or actually at the event. And so try to do your homework, find out what the handle names of the speakers are, as well as find out what maybe the curated hashtag is, the curated hashtag. So for example, if you're going to Hustle and Grind coming up, right, in April, they might have hashtag Hustle and Grind 2019, whatever it is. So find out what it is and start using it. They might be promoting something right now, and you will start to get on this conversation before the event so that maybe you can make connections at the event when you get there, because you've already got a buzz going. Good morning, Mabel. Good morning, Max. And that would be a great way to start doing things prior to getting to the event. So number one, do your homework, find the handle names, find the hashtags that are being used. Okay. Number two, make things personal. So when you're sitting there, I talked about this in another video that I've done, but I'm kind of a nerd, so I like to use Twitter as taking notes. But I don't just regurgitate what I'm learning, because there's something that when you have takeaways, everybody has takeaways, right? So, if you hear something that the speaker's saying, think about it for a second and think, okay, that's really cool. How would I be able to use that in what I'm doing? And sometimes if you put that out there, I almost guarantee somebody else would be learning along with you and having the same thoughts. And so, yes, regurgitating, yes, just hitting retweet is great of other people doing it. But if you start to make things personal, it also shows the speaker that something really resonated with you. And that's why you're sharing what you're sharing about what they're saying. So making things personal takes it just a bit of a step further so that you can make this connection through the airwaves, through social media, through technology, what we all need to start doing because it's at our fingertips. But taking it a step further at these events by really thinking about how did that resonate with you when you do your tweet. If it's too overwhelming, sit there and retweet. Go through and find the search engine, put in the hashtag of the event, and look at what people are actually talking about, and maybe go off of their tweet and say, oh yeah, I totally agreed with that, or whatever it is that you need to do, okay? So the first thing is, as an attendee for an event, how can you use Twitter is do your homework, find the handle names, find the hashtags. Number two would be making things personal. Number three, as an attendee at an event, you want to really engage. So engage. So like I said, go to the search engine in Twitter, use the hashtag, look up people that are there, find out what they're saying, have a conversation. Twitter is super fun because it's quick and you don't have much to say, so you can have a really fun conversation. And Amit says, this is true. I use the hashtag for a 5K coming up. Yes. That's the way, Amit. And thank you, Michelle, for taking notes. So as an attendee, again, just as a review, how do we use Twitter? Number one, do your homework. Number two, make things personal. Number three, engage. And if it's too overwhelming, go back and engage later. People are doing things before the event and after the event. Don't run yourself ragged. Don't feel like you have to keep up, because it can get overwhelming, especially at a huge event with thousands and thousands of people, to really try to keep up. But you can do it at any time and go back by using that. All right. Yes, Josh. Oh, totally amazing time we live in, because I'm telling you, these are the ways that we need to make connections and take advantage of all of these types of ways that we can reach out to people. Okay, so those are my key tips for using Twitter at an event if you are an attendee. Okay, now let's talk about what if you are running an event or promoting an event. How can you actually use Twitter? So I thought about some different events that I've been involved in, and I think number one is, as you're creating an event, create a hashtag that everybody will start to use. Typically, it's the name of your event, the year. Keep it kind of short, don't give too many options, because you don't want people tweeting and remembering one and then tweeting and remembering the other one. And then you've got all kinds of different groups of people following different hashtags. So definitely number one is finding and curating a hashtag that would signify your event. And so a lot of the times it's the event name, like I said, hashtag Hustle and Grind 2019. Hashtag Fierce 365. Take it from what Lisa's using on her show on Facebook and use it on Twitter if you want to. That way people can find it, right? So that's number one, is curate your hashtag and start using it to promote your event. Number two is another way, even beforehand, before the event is going on, is hold a tweet-a-thon. Yes, I said tweet-a-thon, Twitter-thon, tweet chat, whatever you want to use. These are all different terms that people are using. Okay, what the heck is a tweet chat? All right, this is what I'm going to explain to you. So number one is, let's say you are you want to interview a speaker to get the buzz going of who you're going to have at an event, or if it's a seminar coming up that you're teaching. I know, Anthony, you do seminars all the time. And so, get something where you might have some questions beforehand and curate some questions. I don't know. Let's just throw out 10 questions. Okay. And good morning, Frank Crinetti. Okay, this is for you because I'm going to stay on you to get on Twitter because I think that you need to get on Twitter, just like Michelle. Okay, tweetathon. Yes, Rich. Twitterthon. People are now calling it tweet chats. Okay, so before your event or before a seminar or before a workshop or whatever you want to do, start creating the buzz. Start creating the buzz. Yes, you can put out flyers. You can put out things on social media. Great graphics, but having a conversation and engaging, this will totally work too. So a tweet chat, having questions beforehand. Let's say you're going to focus on a certain speaker that you're going to have at an event. So just go out on Twitter and say, hey, join us on this date. And yes, tweet, Frank. That means that you're going to actually have to do it. So we're going to go out on Twitter on this particular date, particular time. So join us. So it's like you're setting a group meeting with everybody that's in the Twitterverse. Yes, I'm using all these funny names because this is how it works. So then say we're going to do a tweet chat and hashtag your tweet chat, whatever you want to do. Have these questions ready to go. Have your speaker ready to go on their handle name. Say, we're going to be talking with, and then put their handle name in on a tweet chat on this date, this time. Join us. Okay, so then let that sit. Then on that particular date, you and the speaker show up at that time on your phones, on your computers, whatever it is. Okay, and here is a hint. Have a small group of people or a big group of people kind of behind the scenes to make sure that the conversation continues to go. So when you're having a conversation with a speaker, the nice thing to do would be having the question, so correlate to the answer. So you ask the question and you do Q1, question 1, right? Ask the question to the speaker answers. Or if it's not a speaker and you're trying to talk about the actual event, it'll be question 1. And then the person comes in, or anybody who else wants to answer will have to answer it by starting off with A1 so that it correlates to question 1. I know this might sound confusing, but the best way to do it, I'm going to talk about this one woman real quick, is her name is Winnie Sun. Okay. So Winnie Sun, if you guys don't know her, you need to follow her on Twitter. She is an amazing tweet chatter. Okay. She does it every Wednesday. And honestly, I must have got in on one of her tweet chats and I started to join in on it. And I kind of went through and she was probably on question 6 and I was like, what's going on? Like I'm seeing A6 for something. So then I followed the trail back and I figured out what she was doing. And so she usually has financial conversations and it is at Winnie Sun. So at WINNIESUN. Or you can look up the hashtag Winnie Sun hashtag tweet chats. So it's tweet chat actually. But actually, so she does this every Wednesday. And it's funny because I was looking through her actual feed on Twitter and she had posted recently that she was so excited because the last tweet chat that she did was trending #1 on Twitter. Okay. She has over 372,000 followers and she talks about financial things and conversations. But if you want to see how it's done, so I don't have to continue to kind of explain it to you, go just follow her conversation and see how it's done or join her on Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So, she does a really, really good job. And I oh my gosh. Okay. I can talk forever, so this might go over a little bit. I'm so sorry. And I will have to catch up on some of the comments because I really want to get some of this content out. So talking about Twitter, how do you use it when promoting or running an event? I talked about starting it early and curating a hashtag. I talked about using tweet chats, follow Winnie Sun. I reached out to her last night actually. So she and I, she started following me back on Twitter. Then we became friends on Facebook. So I reached out to her last night and I said, hey, I'm going to talk about Twitter and I'm going to bring you up. Is that okay? And number 2, well, I said too bad if it's okay, if it's not okay. But number 2 is what advice do you have for people about getting themselves out on Twitter. And she said, yes, it does take time, but she said it's super important for her because for her, it has built a brand and it has built a community for her and it has been life-changing. So, follow her and see how she does it. It might give you some great ideas to create the buzz around your event. The last thing about using Twitter at your event is holding a social media contest. So this is super fun because people get competitive. I'm telling you, people get totally competitive. And if you do like a tweet of the day and have a prize and you can use your curated tweet that you've been using before the event, people get so competitive over whatever it is. You can do like a Starbucks card. You could do a $100 card for something, whatever it is. Make sure that you have a group of people that will review the tweets of the day, and you can even branch out and say, even if you do it on Instagram, we will check your Instagram so that you don't have to make people have to use Twitter there, but make a contest out of social media. Get people involved at your events and give away a prize, because what you're really paying for with that prize is you are getting your brand out there, right? Okay, so those are some of my tips for at an event and also promoting or running events. So a couple of just really quick notes on Twitter, and then I will let you go because we're running over, is number one, make sure when you're at an event, if you're going to do this, that your tweets are not set to protected. So you have to actually go to settings and say unprotect my tweets. I know it sounds awful, but it's not. But basically what that does is it allows everybody else to see your tweets too. That's all it does. Okay. So make sure your tweets are set to unprotected. The second thing is you can't really go back and edit on Twitter. So I just want to point out that just pause and you can edit. The only way to edit is to take it down and then redo it again. So just pause and, check the hashtags, how you spelt it. One letter off, you're not going to get it, right? Check the handle names again. Check that, making sure that what you're putting out there content-wise is something that you really want to go out there. And the last thing about Twitter is watch out for robots. So everybody that follows you on any social media platform, really, go through really quick and just scan their profile and make sure it's not a robot. On Twitter, you can actually report and block them right away. So those are some of my really, key tips on using Twitter. All right, last thing is a call to action. So I want to hear, number one, maybe what is something that's holding you back? What is something that you're scared of by using Twitter? Why do you refuse to be like, oh no, I just don't want to do it? Like maybe it'll go away. Guys, it's not going away. Twitter has been around and it's going to stay. So what is holding you back? Okay. Number two is maybe celebrate a win. I have so many great stories. I didn't have time to tell my really good story. But what are some really big wins that you had with social media or Twitter? So that we can all learn from each other, and get some tips. It's not just about me, but I want to learn from you guys as well. So in the comments below on the show today, I want you to put out there what's holding you back, what's your fear, as well as, what's a big win. So thank you for joining me today. And I am so sorry I did not pay attention to the comments again when I got going because I wanted to keep the time limit within Lisa's show. And she'll be back tomorrow, I think. So thank you for joining, and Fierce Nation, and go out there and be fierce. All right, bye.